Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in A Course in Miracles, complete and annotated edition, part 1 of the workbook in lesson 191. I am the Holy Son of God Himself. Here is your declaration of release from bondage of the world. And here as well is all the world released. You do not see what you have done by giving to the world the role of jailer to the Son of God. What could it be but vicious and afraid, fearful of shadows, punitive and wild, lacking all reason, blind, insane, and sad? What have you done that this should be your world? What have you done that this is what you see? Deny your own identity, and this is what remains. You look on chaos and proclaim it as yourself. There is no sight that fails to witness this is you. There is no sound that does not speak of frailty within you and without. No breath you draw that does not seem to bring you nearer to death. No hope you hold but will dissolve in tears. Deny your own identity, and you will not escape the madness which induced this weird, unnatural, and ghostly thought which mocks creation and which laughs at God. Deny your own identity, and you assail the universe alone, without a friend, a tiny particle of dust against the legions of your enemies. Deny your own identity and look on evil, sin, and death, and watch despair snatch from your fingers every scrap of hope, leaving you nothing but the wish to die. Yet what is it except a game you play in which identity can be denied? You are as God created you. All else but this one thing is folly to believe. In this one thought is everything set free. In this one truth are all illusions gone. In this one fact is sinlessness proclaimed to be forever part of everything, the central core of its existence and its guarantee of immortality. But let today's idea find a place among your thoughts, and you have risen far above the world and all the worldly thoughts that hold it prisoner. And from this place of safety and escape you will return and set it free. For he who can accept his true identity is truly saved, and his salvation is the gift he gives to everyone, in gratitude to him who pointed out the way to happiness that changed his whole perception of the world. One holy thought like this and you are free. You are the Holy Son of God Himself, and with this holy thought you learn as well that you have freed the world. You have no need to use it cruelly and then perceive this savage need in it. You set it free of your imprisonment. You will not see a devastating image of yourself walking the world in terror, with the world twisting in agony because your fears have laid the mark of death upon its heart. Be glad today how very easily is hell undone. You need but tell yourself, I am the Holy Son of God Himself. And I'm going to go ahead and read footnote 394. Himself refers to God, not to the Son of God. I am the Holy Son of God Himself. I cannot suffer, cannot be in pain. I cannot lose, nor can I fail to do all that salvation asks. And in that thought is everything you look on wholly changed. A miracle has lighted up all dark and ancient caverns where the rites of death echoed since time began. For time has lost its hold upon the world. The Son of God has come in glory to redeem the lost, to save the helpless, and to give the world the gift of His forgiveness. 395. Matthew 16:27. For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of His Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Luke 19:10. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. In the above passage, the Son of God, who has come in glory to redeem the lost, is you. Who could see the world as dark and sinful when God's Son has come again at last to set it free? You who perceive yourself as weak and frail, with futile hopes and devastated dreams, born but to die, to weep and suffer pain, hear this. All power is given unto you in earth and heaven. 396, Matthew 28:18. And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. The above passage, of course, applies this to us. There is nothing that you cannot do. You play the game of death, of being helpless, pitiful, tied to dissolution, in a world which shows no mercy to you. Yet when you accord it mercy, will its mercy shine on you? Then let the Son of God awaken from his sleep, and opening his holy eyes, return again to bless the world he made. In error it began, but it will end in the reflection of his holiness, and we will sleep no more and dream of death. Then join with me today. Your glory is the light which saves the world. Do not withhold salvation longer. Look about the world and see the suffering there. Is not your heart willing to bring your weary brothers rest? They must await your own release. They stay in chains till you are free. They cannot see the mercy of the world until you find it for yourself. They suffer pain until you have denied its hold on you. They die till you accept your own eternal life. You are the Holy Son of God himself. Remember this, and all the world is free. Remember this, and earth and heaven are one. Footnote 397. Looking about the world and seeing the suffering there, as you are told to do so in the previous paragraph, provide you with the motivation to accept that you are the Holy Son of God himself. For accepting that is what enables you to heal those suffering and set them free. For accepting that is what enables you to heal those suffering and set them free. Now I will read the commentary by Robert Perry and Alan Watson. This is the commentary for Lesson 191 from Alan Watson and Robert Perry, July 10th. I am the Holy Son of God himself. The purpose of this lesson is to go past your self-perception as weak, frail, and afraid, which comes from the denial of your identity, and remember that you are the Holy Son of God himself. This will release you and will save the world from suffering. So we'll have meditation 5 to 30 minutes or more. I will do a separate 15-minute meditation if you'd like to join me. There are no specific instructions for the longer practice periods, just a strong focus on the use of these lines. I am the Holy Son of God himself. Himself is God. I cannot suffer, cannot be in pain. I cannot suffer loss, nor fail to do all that salvation asks. By saying and meaning these lines, you reverse your denial of your identity. You accept the power and the glory that is your true nature. You typically see the world as your jailer, filled with enemies massed against you. Yet this role is not inherent in the world. Rather, your denial of your identity turns the world into this in order to support your false identity. Your denial imprisons the world. Thus, when you reverse that denial through the words of today's practice period, you set the world free. By unveiling your glory as God's Son, you release those in chains, those who see no mercy in the world, those who suffer pain, and even those who die. This is your motivation to practice today, their release and your release. Beyond devoting some time to repeating these words with as much certainty and sincerity as possible, the rest of the practice period is up to you, to your inspiration and your guidance from the Holy Spirit. You can't go wrong with meditation, especially since 9 of the last 11 lessons have been devoted to it. Hourly remembrance, 1 or 2 minutes as the hour strikes, reduce if circumstances do not permit. Do a short version of the evening and morning exercise, closed by asking God's guidance for the coming hour and thanking Him for His gifts in the past hour. And this is the commentary by Alan Watson. Once again, the Course sounds its keynote. You are as God created you. Anything God creates is like Himself, holy, sinless, guiltless, an endless spring of love, and immortal. To put a different twist on a familiar saying, we are not human beings seeking a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings who think we are having a human experience. We did not suddenly spring into existence at birth, and we do not pass out of existence when the body stops functioning. We are aspects of an immortal being existing entirely outside of time. I am the Holy Son of God Himself. How we see ourselves determines how we see the world. It may not be obvious at first, but if we see ourselves as other than the Holy Son of God, we are giving to the world the role of jailer to the Son of God. If we see ourselves as separate, isolated beings, we are inevitably cast in the role of victim. We become a mote of dust in a hurricane, whirled about by the universe without any consideration for our well-being. The world then takes on an appearance that reflects this mistaken identity we have assumed. The whole world witnesses to our frailty. All our experience here seems to testify that death is certain and loss inevitable. This is what projection does. The world becomes our jailer, our victimizer. If we deny our identity as the Holy Son of God, as God created us, we make the world into a place of chaos, evil, sin, and death. We then resent the world for it, although we have laid this role on the world. As I look at the world today, let me ask myself, what have I done that this should be my world? And let me answer myself, I have denied my identity as God's Son. Thus, to accept my identity is to forgive the world for what it did not do to me. Rectify that single mistake and we have changed the world we see. The world cannot truly be as we see it because identity cannot truly be denied. Our imagined identity as not the Son of God is no more than a silly game with no real effects and no real consequences. If we can begin to accept our identity, all illusions that derive from this error disappear. Again, we are asked to practice, recognizing our identity in the holy instant. For a brief time, we let today's idea find a place among our thoughts. In that holy instant, we rise far above the world into a place of safety, where we recognize the impossibility of the world's victimizing us, because we see our own eternal, invulnerable nature. And from that place of safety, we return to the world and set it free. Notice the similarity of this description to the earlier one in Lesson 184, paragraph 10. In the holy instant, we accept atonement for ourselves. We recognize our true identity. And then we return to bring the message of this shared identity to all the world, that it may be free with us. The realization of our identity is enough to free us from every problem forever and to free the world with us. To cling to our little individual identity is to perpetuate a devastating image of yourself, walking the world in terror, with the world twisting in agony because your fears have laid the mark of death upon its heart. Do I really want to go on playing this silly, tragic game? Do I want to continue to hold the world to task because it has not met my needs but has denied me what is my right? Or will I recognize today that I have done this, I have denied myself, and blame the world for it? In the latter part of this lesson, it speaks in glowing terms of the Son of God who has come in glory to redeem the lost. Who is this Son of God? It is not speaking of Jesus. It is speaking of you and me. It appeals to us to realize that our glory is the light that saves the world, and asks us not to withhold it. It asks us to see the suffering in the world and not to brush it over, saying it is only an illusion, and to find it in our hearts to respond to it. How can we release our brothers from suffering? By accepting our own release, by finding our own identity. You are the Holy Son of God Himself. Remember this, and all the world is free. Remember this, and earth and heaven are one. Thank you for joining with me for Lesson 191. I am the Holy Son of God Himself. Please join me for the 15-minute meditation. Thank you.